What is up, Bucs fans? We are finally live. We were supposed to start at 8 o'clock, but it did not happen because, spectrum of all things just has to ruin the party. But welcome to Real Bucs Talk here on a Wednesday night. The Buccaneers schedule is out, and it looks like a pretty cool schedule. We'll bring it up here on the screen so you guys can see it. But just welcome in everyone. Appreciate you guys joining us. Sorry for the delay, but I'm joined here by my good friend Ken Barrett. Ken, how are we doing? How are we feeling about this schedule? The Buccaneers finally have a home opener to start the season since I don't know when, long time ago.
I can't even think one really pre-Brady. And obviously, we start on the road against the Saints a bunch or the Cowboys, except for
Right.
we won the Super Bowl 2021. That was the last home opener.
Yeah.
But yeah, from that regards, overall, I think the schedule's pretty solid. I think we're going to go a little bit in depth here tonight, but there's really two main stretches that can be worrisome. And when we talk about the schedule, just know we're going to be talking as if injuries aren't going to play like a big part. And then Baker, just plays to an adequate level. But in terms of a first place schedule, I think it laid out pretty darn well. And for once, we don't have to go overseas. So we actually are going to get our allotted home games, which is really awesome. And I think there's a good mix of home and away games. And I think it's going to be a fantastic, way to look at the season. I know a lot of people are hyped. I see a lot of 10, 11 games. I'm a little bit of the pessimist at 9, but that's just because there's a couple those West Coast trips, and then we'll get into it. But I'm really excited that that it played out the way that it did. I just wish we were playing Canales week 1. That was my only thing. If it was in Carolina, I'd be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see what the schedules work out.
Yeah, so it looks like we get, let's see. Yeah, so Carolina road game on December 1st, which is that could be a potential road trip. That
405 too. Who would have thought a 405 game with the Panthers?
Yeah, so just looking at, we'll get into the primetime games here. So the Buccaneers end up getting, I think the first one is against the Atlanta Falcons on Thursday Night Football. Then we have the Baltimore Ravens at home for Monday night. And then the next one, the Chiefs on the road, Monday Night Football. That will be an expensive ticket, I'm sure. And then you look at the last one here in December against the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. So Buccaneers come away with, what is that, four primetime games. So that's pretty cool. I do like, speaking of the home opener, I do like that it's at 4:25 start. That's nice because it won't be as hot or grueling for that opener, but pretty good. I like the balance of the schedule. We have 9 home games this year. I think home games are going to be the key, like you talked about, 9 wins. I think that's very fair, especially given the teams that we're going up against. It's a first place schedule, so you have to face some tough teams, but yeah, I just like how overall it's pretty balanced. I think the tough stretches that you look at obviously starts in week 4 and going forward, till that bye week. We did get a late bye, so that is nice. But Cannabis likes that as well. So
yeah, no, week 11 bye, I think is what it is. I'll take that over week 5 any day of the week and twice on Sundays, man. And it's right after that long stretch. The 3 of our probably hardest 4 games. You had the Ravens Monday Night Football, Falcons even on the at home, which at least that game at home is being nice, at Chiefs, and then a short week home against the 49ers before that bye. So I think the bye is going to be well earned by that point.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. And just looking at the tough stretch. So we start at week 4 with the Eagles, then you have the 2 division games on the road. And that Falcons game is a short week, and then you have to go face the Saints after that. And then you talked about it: Baltimore, Falcons, then Chiefs, and then Niners. So those 6 games right there, that's going to be a very challenging front. That's probably our toughest part of the schedule, for sure. And I think if you're the Bucs, if you can somehow manage to go, 3-3, I think you would be very satisfied with that out of that stretch. That would probably be the home run. Um, ideally you win those 2 division games or 3 division games, if you can, maybe split them, go 2-1 at best. I think that'd be really good, in those division games, and then, try to see where you can find your wins, from there. But the first 3 games I think are very good, with Washington and then Detroit and then Broncos. So you look at that stretch, probably think you have to be at least 2-1 out of those, first 3 games.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway for me from this schedule is you have to win the games that you're supposed to win.
Yep.
Washington week 1, Broncos week 3.
Yep.
Um, Go probably at least 4 or 5 wins in the division. You're allowed to drop 1 against a division opponent, but if they drop
Right.
more than 2, that gets really troublesome. The Giants, you got to win.
Yep.
Raiders, you got to win. Chargers, that to me, you got to win, even though it's a West Coast trip.
Right.
Those are the teams really you have to beat. The Broncos, I think, are going to be sneaky. We know Sean Payton does really well against Todd Bowles. Yes, might be a rookie quarterback, might not be.
Mhm.
We'll see what the Broncos situation is there. We all know, 2 rookies in the first 3 weeks. We know Todd Bowles' record is not very stellar versus in Bucs in general versus rookie quarterbacks. So um, this is going to be very interesting. We'll see really at the start, hey, if they're 2-1 to
Mhm.
begin the season, again, going into that stretch, ideally would love to be 3-0 before you get into the Eagles, Falcons, Saints,
Right.
Ravens, Chiefs, all the way through that bye. I think you got to at least start 2-1. Anything worse than that, it's going to be an uphill battle.
Mhm. Yeah, my big thing, just heading into this year, even before this schedule came out, is like the Buccaneers have to become a good home team again. Like they have to win their games at home. Last year, the Buccaneers finished 4-4 at home, and that's just not going to cut it. Especially with this type of schedule where you have more home games than road games, you got to find a way to at least finish, 6-3 at worst. I think that's what you have to look for. So you really have to take advantage of making Raymond James a place where teams don't want to come and play, and you have to find a way to, maximize those opportunities. I think that's going to be very important. So I agree with you. I think you look at the division games; those games at home, they have to be W's. Like they have to. And then I think Washington, Broncos, like you said, and then it's just about, can you find a way to, Eagles, I think we can beat. I think we can match up with them. I think we match up pretty well, actually. San Francisco, I thought we had a chance last year on the road. So, all these games we're going to be in. I think that's what you have to be excited about, because the Buccaneers were in every game last year, and that shouldn't change this year, because you're pretty much bringing back the same team, but you have also added some, pieces to make certain positions stronger. You got a better offensive coordinator, in my opinion. I know that remains to be seen, but just with the experience that he brings with Liam Cohen, and obviously the offense should be able to get off to a better start than they did last year, and kind of be more consistent throughout the whole year. I think that's what you have to look for.
Yeah, exactly. And then also, as you mentioned, being able to play, well at home, Ravens, Eagles, and 49ers, those are teams that travel well.
Yes.
And I'm curious to see, especially with the Eagles and 49ers, hey, can the Bucs fans, not maybe sell all of the lower bowl tickets?
Yeah.
Because those are really, if I'm, either of those fans, that's usually, a good time, those times of the year to really come down to Florida.
Yes. Yep.
Um, I mean, even from that regard, it's just like, hey, let's hope that, the fans are able to keep the lower bowl to be respectable, because we know those fans are going to be there. But, is it going to be what it has been for the past maybe 2 years, where those fans just really dominate
Yeah.
for the span of obviously the 90s, and then the Brady, year and a half is probably the most, red and white that I've really seen. We went to that sold, or the what was it, the red or white out when we played the Saints. Like that
Oh,
was
yeah.
99.9% Bucks fans.
Right.
Like that
Right.
was a great atmosphere to be at. at home, I hope the fans do their part so that way the team can show out at home as well. So yeah, I'm with you, man. You got to win these home games, especially the ones like the Broncos. You can't drop Washington week 1. There's so many moving pieces there. You gotta start off strong, and that's the nice thing about the schedule. 3 of the first 4 games are at home. Again,
Yeah.
go 3-1 before you get into that stretch before the bye. That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'm looking for, from this team to start fast. And, defensively, you don't have pretty much any changes, outside of, maybe 2 spots, and that's KJ Britt next to Levante, and then Jordan Whitehead,
Addition
who's
by subtraction.
yeah,
Addition by subtraction.
addition by
PFF is calling Devin White for the Eagles a subtraction by addition. So we have to at least benefit from that relationship there as well.
right.
Yeah, I think KJ Britt's going to bring more, at least steady Eddie play, which is going to be needed. There's going to be a lot of rushing those first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of rushing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, I mean, I talked about this in our chat that we have on Twitter, and like I think the thing that can't get measured, because we're good friends with Josh Capo, who loves analytics, he loves numbers, and I do too. I like balancing that out and looking at it and trying to get a good gauge of what could happen. But I think the thing that you can't measure, and that's internal growth. Like you see natural growth from a Kalijah Cansey, who should get better this season. Also Yaya Diaby. So guys like that who should boost your pass rush, because we know that has been an issue as far as consistent 4-man pass rush. And then the offensive line, I think, with the addition of Graham Barton, coming in as a center, but also a rookie. So we know there could be, growing pains there for sure. But then the addition of, the other free agent offensive lineman that they brought in, adding more depth, and then you also have, the familiarity of the offense with Baker Mayfield. So just that internal growth, I think, and then also Chris Godwin being more of an asset this season because he's back into a familiar position that he loves to play. So when you look at those factors and just the overall continuity of this team that should be pushing it forward, I just feel like they can start where they left off last year and play at a higher level. And hopefully that brings a more consistent football team, because really that was the issue last year. We didn't know what Buccaneers team we were going to get throughout the season.
Yeah, and I like to definitely think of our friend Josh Capo, who's literally Jonah Hill from Moneyball.
Yeah,
he even when the schedule came out, he's like, analytics are telling me 8 and 9. Yeah. And I'm like, shit, I thought I was pessimistic at 9 wins, but it's like, okay, like Josh, love you. And we know Moneyball's a big thing in terms of statistics in sports. And I think to your point, plus one point that a lot of people I think overlook, especially from those old Oakland Athletics baseball teams, is you had an MVP candidate, Miguel Tejada, on that roster. Wasn't mentioned in the movie. You got Jermaine Dye, other hitters like Eric Chavez, and then you had pitchers like Barry Zito, not mentioned, Cy Young Award winner, right. Mark Mulder, Tim Hudson. Right. Like analytics are great, but again, eyeballs told me that Baker Mayfield wasn't going to have as good of a season that he had last year, and also analytics said that Baker Mayfield wasn't going to have as good of a season as what he had last year. So it's really like, hey, you're splitting straws here. Like you said, the KJ Britts of the world got to step up. Hey, that our rookie, second round draft pick at edge rusher, is he going to make an impact? Is that wide receiver 3 going to be extremely productive? Is the run game going to get better? That's really what's going to determine, obviously the Bucs' success is that product that we put on the field, and hopefully Liam Cohen, to your points, just comes out, is able to at least go game 1 and be able to pick things up from last year and take that next step is what we're looking for when you get Liam Cohen to run your offense.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also a big process guy, and I think the process is going to be improved from an offensive standpoint. Just the way, Liam is going about his business as far as putting a game plan together. I think he understands the personnel a little bit more than Dave Canales did as far as utilizing them to a certain way where it's going to benefit the team. I just feel now again, he's got to go out there and prove it, right? But I have a good confidence that they are going to find a way to find what works and continue to use that, but also be versatile enough to keep teams off balance. I think that's going to be important. So, with that said, just looking at the Buccaneers schedule, you know, right now, my early prediction, I have them probably 10-7. That's what I'm thinking. I think at worst case they can finish those first 10 games at 5-5. I just feel like they'll be able to start fast and they'll be able to find their way and navigate through. And then when you get into the second half of the schedule, you have opportunities, especially with the Giants and then the Panthers, the Raiders, Chargers, 4 games right there.
I love that stretch.
Yeah.
And only 1 game on the road too.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Or excuse me, only 1 game at home during that stretch, excuse me.
Right.
But they're winnable games on the road. That's the good thing.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So, just looking at that second half, so you have the Panthers twice in that stretch, and then you also have the Saints at the end of the schedule. And then
which who knows if they're floundering, Derek Carr, let's say he doesn't take a step. Right. Let's say Dennis Allen could possibly be fired if things don't go the Saints' way. So that's week 18 game against the Saints. Going to be very interesting to see what's going on there from both sides, really, from us and the Saints. But I think the Saints, if they're not borderline playoff right now, I don't know how Dennis Allen can keep his job.
Right. Yeah, I mean, again, that one could be a very important game for both parties involved for sure. And the Dallas game on Sunday night, and then you have the Chargers there. So you have to feel confident if the Buccaneers can find a way to get, finish that first 10 game stretch at 5-5 or better. They have a really good opportunity to get this division and find a way to, be back in the playoffs and see what happens when you make it there. Anything goes. We saw that last year where Buccaneers found themselves right there in the divisional round against Detroit. Probably could have won the game, just came up a little short. And now you're hoping with the additions made this offseason, the camaraderie that's already there, the continuity in place, that should help the team, continue to improve. And I look at a lot of the young players that made an impact last year. Those guys, can we push those guys to another level with the guys that you brought in, like Trey Palmer, for example, with Jalen McMillan coming in? Does Trey Palmer go to another step towards becoming a more complete receiver, and maybe he can step up his game? So you look at those aspects, Bucky Irving pushing Rachaad White, all those things play a part. So I'm really excited about that. Does Robert Hainsey become a elite guard all of a sudden? Like, would that happen?
Or is he the backup center? And then you have, I think the offensive line play is going to be significantly better. And hot take here, I'm not saying the Bucs are going to be a top 5 or even top 10 rushing offense. I really think if Graham Barton finds a spot at either center or guard and is able to be not an elite but solid guy year one, I am telling you, from the addition by subtraction, and I've defended Harold Goodwin for so long the past several years, and I really think Harold Goodwin was the source of a lot of those duo one runs that continued after Canales took over from Leftwich. So that really tells me Harold Goodwin, and we might see it with the Panthers this year running a lot of duo. And I really think that Cohen's going to come in and literally just from simplifying, but also having a diversity of runs is going to help that team, or help the rushing offense be more consistent, maybe even pushing over, heaven forbid, 4 yards a carry. The Bucs really aren't that far off. They were getting really low yards per carry, and then they wouldn't stick to it, or then Canales would beat it to a dead horse. So that was just kind of, hey, like, you had no real opportunities to take those steps. There wasn't that diversity. And Cohen came out and said, hey, like, no offense to Canales, the offense was great last year, but this is where we can step up in the run game. And I see it, man. Graham Barton is a big, athletic body.
He's a
Even if he
monster.
starts at left guard, let's say hypothetically he starts at left guard. Hainsey, we know, is the weak link of the offensive line, but we're hoping that Cody Mock takes that next step. You have Worse on the left and Godecki at right tackle. All of your spots are going to be solidified. And then hypothetically, let's say, hey, Graham Barton's the best fit at center. You have 3 really capable bodies to play left guard that are going to battle it out. So I'm confident that at least one of the 3 is going to be solid. So barring injury, we have a very, there's no, what's the guy's name that we got from the Chargers who played left guard most of last year?
Oh, Matt Filer. Yeah.
There's no Matt Filers out there. Matt Filer is a big body who couldn't really move. These guys can move laterally. You're going to see a lot more zone. You're going to see a lot of, heaven forbid, Baker bootlegs, tight end slipping out, Godwin going in as if he's going to go a drag and then do a zip route back towards the sideline. Those are going to be easy completions and yards that are going to be set up, which is what Canales was aiming to do by using the run game to establish the pass game. But the run selections were just so bad that you couldn't set up the rest of that. And I really think the Bucs will be around 15 for rushing. And if we do that, that's a jump of 15 spots. And we know the offense can pass the ball.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. I think the run game, being better, if they can find a way to just be a top 20 rushing offense,
that's what I mean, man.
I think we will be seeing an offense greatly improve, more efficient, being able to put up, at least 24 points per game. I think that's the number that we're looking for as Bucs fans. If we can hit that mark, averaging 24 or more per game, then you're in business, and you already know your defense is more than capable of shutting down opposing offenses. Todd Bowles is going to blitz. I think personally has improved the secondary. I know there's a lot of talk about Zion McCollum and et cetera. But when I look at who they have out there now, I think they have better cerebral players out there as far as just being able to play, whether it's zone or man coverage. That's what McCollum gives you. He gives you that flexibility. You bring in a Bryce Hall who also can do similar things. I really like that move. I think now you have that combination of what you had when you were at the Super Bowl, when you had Carlton Davis, you had Jamel Dean, and then you also had Sean Murphy bunting. So now you have that kind of quality back at your cornerback room. The safeties are most important. You have Winfield, Mr. Bags, money here. Who got
Mr. Brinks truck.
Yeah, Mr. Brinks truck with the money, and rightfully deserved. So you have him and you have Jordan Whitehead. Now you bring in Tyke Smith, who pretty much reminds me of both of those guys. He plays very similar, aggressive, smart, knows how to tackle, plays in zone. Probably going to be your nickel corner. And then you also have Christian Izien, who can be utilized in different ways now too. So that whole group, I think, is definitely much more improved. And then up front, like I talked about earlier, internal growth, I think, is going to be a huge factor. And who knows what Vita Vea is going to do? I mean, this guy is looking like he's 325. He's ready to, be fast. He's ready to be fast again. And of course, Bucs media is trying to get him to play running back, which I understand, but it's not going to happen. So, Skip Pete just shut that down immediately. He was like, no, we're not doing it. So I thought that was funny, but guys, appreciate everyone in here. Appreciate all the support. Let us know what you guys think of the schedule. What's the toughest stretch? I think we kind of highlighted it earlier. It's that week 4 through 10. I mean, Eagles, Falcons, Saints, Baltimore, then Falcons again, then Chiefs, and then Niners before the bye week. So that is the test right there. That's going to make or break, I think, the season for the Bucs. Or, well, I shouldn't say break, but it's just going to tell us how good this team really is. Like, are we contenders? Or are we just fighting for, a wild card, or are we still competing for the division? That's that's going to be interesting. And also injuries always play a part. You talked about that earlier too, Ken, is we don't know what these teams are going to look like when we get to that matchup. Like somebody could be out, somebody could, no,
And who
someone's not.
knows what a Kansas
Yeah.
City Chiefs receiver can do by week 9? You never
Right.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
They could have no receivers because they all, just want to go 120 miles an hour,
Right.
or just hit and run, or do anything crazy, or date Taylor Swift and want to go to an Eras Tour concert down in Brazil. You never know. You never know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I appreciate everyone here in the chat. I'm just going to get to some of these comments. Yeah, 4 primetime games. I mean, that was
I thought 2 was going to be like, okay, if we got more than 2, great. I did not think 4. I thought it was going to somehow just end up being 3. But I think they just gave us and the Falcons 4. I think the Saints only got 2.
right.
Panthers probably have a Thursday night, and that's probably it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we got the good end of the stick.
Yeah, they sent Carolina to London or was it Germany? Yeah, Germany. So
Germany.
yeah, so they got that.
Did you see what the Jets have? The Jets have like 6. I thought the limit was 5.
The people want to see Aaron Rodgers, I guess. But
Well,
who knows?
that's because the one home game's the London game for Rodgers. That's what it is.
There you go. There you go. But Campbell says we're contenders. I'm right there with you. Week 11 bye, I think that's huge. Even if it's after, that gauntlet we talked about, just having it later in the season, I think is so important. And you also have the mini bye week with the Thursday night against Atlanta. So I think that helps you to, just kind of reassess. The offensive coaching staff can make any adjustments that they feel is necessary at that time. If you have to make a potential lineup change, that plays a factor there. If the offensive line isn't quite working with whoever, the left guard, or maybe they feel Barton should just shift back over to left guard and, you put in Hainsey, all those things come into play. So I think that's really important. So overall, I think the schedule played out pretty well, especially getting that first game against Washington. I think that's huge because ideally you want to start 1-0. The Buccaneers did that last year against Minnesota on the road. Now you're starting off at home. You just want to set the season off right. Not saying this isn't going to be a tough matchup. It's going to be tough because Washington has new coaching staff with Dan Quinn, new rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels, who is a playmaker. And we know the old rookie quarterbacks against the Buccaneers. So that's always a challenge. And they have a very good, defensive line up front, especially on the interior going up against our interior. That's going to be, the matchup right there, I think.
No, and I agree. And I love that it goes from Commanders at home to at Detroit, because at Detroit is probably, most probably 90% of fans are just going to mark that one as a loss. But we saw last year we were competitive in both games. Great. But you also had a game to kind of get ready for that too with Washington. And it's not really a look ahead game. If it was like at the Saints, I feel like people would be like, oh, the Bucs might overlook the Commanders. But like, no, you got 2 non-division games, one at home, one on the road.
Yep.
You get your feet wet, and I really think the Bucs can challenge Detroit. Yep. Detroit, has a lot of, success in terms of like the draft really in the past couple of years, especially last year. But they just gave Jared Goff a lot of money. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of expectations that come for that. And we saw it last year. Detroit, has Kansas City week 1, and they win. No one really expects that. So I think the Bucs have a better chance this year versus a team like Detroit than what they did last year. And I think the changes in the offensive side is really going to, lead to that. I mean, you're not going to really have what happened with Aiden Hutchinson, getting that, no one blocking him sack that occurred last year. Like, those are small things. I think Baker now has 4 real weapons. He has Cade Otton, who we already saw. He trusts Cade Otton. Mm-hmm. Cade Otton took a real nice step last year. And again, with an improved running game, Detroit already told their hand to us. They're not even going to try to run the ball. So if you have success and you can throwing the ball and you can run the ball, you're taking the ball out of Goff's hand there. And I think they have a legit shot. And then you come back home against the Broncos, who, again, could they have a rookie quarterback? Could they not? They're paying Russell Wilson like $70 million to not play for them. So they lost, the really good safety there as well. Went to Philadelphia, I believe. Justin Simmons. Like, their roster isn't really that complete. Then they trade Jerry Jeudy as well.
Yeah.
So, like, the Broncos, from a roster standpoint, aren't there. So even if you do have a week 2 letdown, you have the opportunity week 3 to correct those mistakes and, again, get prepared for that stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, these are out of division games, which is great. But also you have the 2 NFC games early. So again, that plays a factor, and playoff implications. So it's important, ideally you would love to see this team start 3-0 heading into Philadelphia. But again, it's going to be a challenge. But I think week 1 is obviously must win. You gotta take care of business that first game against Washington. Detroit, you hope you can get some revenge, and then you're looking really nice going into Philadelphia. But yeah, I mean, just the stretch here before you get to Atlanta, and then you have your division games, coming up. I think it was Dave Walsh. He mentioned this. Falcons twice in less than 3 weeks is, that's going to be interesting. Just having, I actually like that. I like that the Falcons are
Gold
early.
Shorts weeks, though. Look at that. You have them Thursday night, and then if you scroll down to the following one, you have a Monday night game right before it. So both short weeks. So, I mean, we'll see. The team, got to prepare a new coaching staff. Raheem Morris, what is this team really going to look like? Is Kirk Cousins going to take them to the next level? I have my doubts. I think Kirk Cousins is going to put up solid numbers. But Raheem Morris, from a defensive standpoint, his defense didn't really have much in terms of talent last year. But Aaron Donald solves a lot of problems for you.
Yeah,
Grady Jarrett's a good player. He's a borderline great player, Grady Jarrett.
He is.
But that's literally it on the defense.
Yeah.
That's all they really got.
Yeah, I mean, AJ Terrell, solid, but yeah, they brought in Jesse Bates. I think, again, he's a good player. But
Jesse Bates, I forgot about that addition last year. Yeah, him and Antoine were fighting over for All Pro, and that's great. But if you can run the ball on them, Jesse Bates gets taken out of the game.
Yeah,
and who is Jesse Bates going to be guarding? Chris Godwin? I'll take that matchup, please.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, that's going to be the X factor that we're looking for early in the season. I think there's been so much commitment to really getting this run game going. And if they can start off fast running the football, that's going to play huge, especially against these teams that there's opportunities, maybe not so much the Eagles because they're great against the run, but
they also have all the talent up front, but the rest of them, like you're saying, you can run on these teams.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, Washington, again, not the greatest. Detroit has been run on in the past. You look at Denver, obviously there's opportunities there. Atlanta and the Saints, they're
Saints
okay.
aren't the same. They're not the same as what they used to be.
Yeah, exactly. So there's opportunities.
David Onyemata's on the Falcons. I forgot about that one. He's solid, but like the Saints are pretty run down. Falcons have no edge rush help, so you can just run outside zones. If you're going to run, keep it outside of the tackles. Again, ample opportunities here. I think this is an easier schedule, honestly, than last year. I think it gets really brought down with the Panthers going 2-15.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, I feel like people aren't talking about our schedule being pretty much the same as last year, but it's deemed easier by the percentages of what teams finished last year. But I think in terms of schedule, you get the rise up, and then the bye, it kind of comes back down. So I think, again, if you're 500 even going into the bye, you have an opportunity to win 5 out of 7.
Right. No, absolutely. And you talked about, the run game and doing more outside stuff. I think that's why you bring in a guy like Bucky Irving to help, mature that, get it better, mix him in with Rachaad White. You could see possibilities where they're both on the field at the same time. It just adds so much dynamics to your ground game. I think again, I just see how they've added, and obviously they gotten bigger up front with Cody Mock, the internal growth there, and then you look at Graham Barton in your middle as your center, and then Sua Opeta, a big dude like 6'5", he's 315, 320. That's big size in your middle of your offensive line that you want. Um, and obviously they know how to move as well. And all their strengths, guess what? It's run blocking. Like they know how to get after in the run game. They know how to pull. They know how to block in space. So when I look at those three, which probably could be your potential starting interior, maybe a Ben Bredesen from New York, also a guy who is pretty good at the guard spot, can move too. So there's just versatility there. I think the depth overall is very good. Now you put Hainsey back where he's probably most comfortable or where he should be suited, which is a high level backup center or backup, guard. I think that's where he fits, just given his size and his ability. Now, who knows? Maybe he does turn into an all pro guard and the rest is history. But right now you just have to feel confident about the upgrades that they've made, or at least the additions that they've made to the run game. And, it starts with the scheme, and then going forward there, you have to be really excited about it.
Can I say one thing to get you excited, plus?
What's that?
With a lot of 11 personnel, I'm going to see I believe we're going to see a lot of running out of shotgun.
Yes. It's
really
got to happen. Yeah, it's got to happen. It's necessary. I mean, running out of shotgun, running against lesser boxes, the run defenders loading up the box, like that's not going to be really a thing now with spreading teams out, going 4 wide, running out of shotgun, utilizing motion, pre-snap motion. Like came out with a video a couple weeks ago about motion. Like that's a huge factor, just using, whether it's in the passing game or the run game, getting guys in space, using Cade Otton as a guy who moves and then blocks, which I think he actually does a pretty good job of when he's on the move and blocking. So you use guys like that. You bring in a Devin Culp from Washington who also can move around and do certain things like that as well. It gives you so many options, and get the defense looking, in certain ways where they probably shouldn't be focused on. But guess what? It's hard not to when guys are moving across your face. So yeah, I think that's going to be a lot of fun to see. Yeah, Bud Cannabis, I did say motion. That is a thing that should go up a lot this year. I mean, you look at the Rams last year; they were second in motion. I think they were at like 80% or 70% of the snaps. The Buccaneers were only 42% using motion, and only 12% using motion on the snap, which is very low. So expect those numbers to rise into probably the top 5 if you're the Buccaneers this year. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
So plus, obviously we know that our new offensive coordinator Liam Cohen, played or coached with McVay and the Rams for a while. But we know for the past 2 of the last 3 years he's been the OC at Kentucky, and sources tell me that you're a Florida Gators fan. So what have you really seen from Kentucky, from Liam Cohen being the sole offensive coordinator? What do you see translating into the Bucs offense in terms of success? We've talked about motion, but is there anything else that you see? Was there like play action, deep passes, the run game in general? Where do you see Cohen really translating from where he's obviously the sole coordinator versus being, McVay's puppet in many ways?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that translate. I mean, especially when you look at the Will Levis tape, when he was calling plays for Will Levis, and that offense was a little bit more higher skilled than it was, say, last year with Devin Leary as the quarterback. There was a lot of mental mistakes by Devin Leary, and even Liam Cohen got frustrated so much that he actually had he had to go to the hospital because he just was overworking himself. Yeah, he got exhausted. So that was kind of a funny thing to find out. Like, man, this guy takes it that serious. Like he wants to, make sure he's doing a good job. But yeah, I think when watching the Will Levis tape, as an offense. Like there was a lot of things, whether it's motion or just using the run game in different ways, the versatility there. But yeah, with his passing game, a lot of it is concepts. I think there's a lot of good things where it's you have a short, you have an intermediate, and you have a deep route pretty much on all the plays. There's level concepts, there's plays to get one specific guy open. So using other guys to manipulate the defense, create space for others, I think is important. But also he does a great job of getting the ball to his best players. And I think that's been, the talk of the town or the talk of Bucs fans over the last several years is like, why are we not getting the ball to Mike Evans or why are we not getting the ball to Chris Godwin? So I think you can expect that to change where they're going to find ways to get these guys the football, whether that's scheming them open or just give him the ball, just throw it to him, whether that's, screens or, jump balls, more 50-50 plays. So there's going to be a lot of things that I think Bucs fans are going to be excited about, especially with how it translates. And I think when you look at 11 personnel and you look at the Buccaneers, players, it fits us perfectly. Like that is what we should be running. We don't really have a great tight end room. So use your best one, which is K. Dotton. Receivers really fit as far as running that 11 personnel, having Godwin being that extra blocker, in the slot, and also a guy that can work the middle of the field. And then you have Jalen McMillan and Trey Palmer, who are versatile enough to win on the outside if needed. Like McMillan, I'm really excited to watch. Like we got a film study on him coming out later this week. It's going to be so much fun to see him play. Like this guy knows how to run his routes. Great route runner, separator, perfect fit for what Liam Cohen's going to ask these guys to do. So I think that's where you're going to see more of getting these guys on the move a lot, free releases, creating opportunities for yards after the catch. That's going to be important. So really, I think what we're going to see is what we expected probably last year with Dave Canales. It just didn't really take off like we thought. We thought we were going to see more of the Rams offense, but it was more of Seattle and more of that, 12 personnel, play action, run heavy type of offense. But with Liam, I think you're going to see a more spread out offense, a more diverse, where a lot of things are going to be mixed up, where it's not going to be so much, one-sided as far as personnel groupings. I think that's going to be important to look at.
That's awesome, man. And I know there's two things that I'm really excited for. Is one, obviously, McVay is the one calling plays there, but Cohen was there when, oh my goodness, Cooper Kupp had his Triple Crown season.
Yeah.
So that tells me he was in the rooms. He's working on the game plans for McVay, and he's the one seeing Cooper Kupp getting that much open. Bucs fans know this very well from the playoff game. Mm-hmm. Sorry to burst bubbles there. But what that tells me is from a Chris Godwin standpoint, obviously there was a little bit of frustration last year. He's going into a contract year. Mm-hmm. And then additionally, it's easy throws. And my biggest criticisms from Baker last year was that he was doing lower percentage throws when there was the checkdowns to Rashad White or Chris Godwin over the middle, kind of wide open. And he would take that lower percentage chance to Mike. Some games it worked, some games it didn't. I think with Cohen being able to scheme certain individuals open and having two great talents is great, but then also having the flexibility of Trey Palmer and Jalen McMillan, I think gets me really excited about, hey, even if Mike Evans and Chris Godwin go down, there's two very good athletic bodies that could still function within the offense. And then you can do the Devin Tompkins, I forgot the other receiver's name that played a little bit last year.
Yeah, Raheem Jarrett.
To be able to fill in. Raheem Jarrett. Like, they can fill in on a game or two if needed. Yeah. Now, the second thing is calling multiple plays in the huddle/audibling. Even when Brady was here, that really didn't happen. Whether if it was BA who was in charge or Byron who was in charge, that didn't happen. Right. Jameis's 5 years here, I can tell you that didn't happen. No audibling, no checking at the line of scrimmage. Also, even just going on one all the time. Like, what was it? Sunday. Everyone knows what the next words of your mouth are going to be. Set hut. and you can time the snap.
Mm.
All of that basically is going to be gone. And you have the ability for not only Cohen to check the plays, because if you're getting to the line of scrimmage before 15 seconds, Cohen can tell Baker things.
Mm-hmm.
So you can audible, and he can be an extra sort of set of eyes. Or Baker can be like, oh, shit, like last year we know Canales, some plays were just like, you should not be running that in this situation. And you
Right.
can check out of it. And I think Baker is a smart enough and capable enough quarterback to handle that responsibility. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to make, again, things easier. The best offenses in the NFL, think of the Chiefs, think of the 49ers, think of the Rams.
Yeah.
They do very easy, simple things, and to Canales' wording, but not his execution, make them seem very complex.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Cohen, we already talked about the run game, but I think even just from a preparation standpoint, a scheme standpoint, it's just going to continue taking that next step to make things easier for Baker, the
Yeah.
offense, the players. We saw it affected Mike Evans very positively. People were
Mm-hmm.
thinking even with Brady, he was just getting over 1,000 yards. Godwin was more important, and you kind of saw the script flip.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a chance where both of these receivers could possibly be looking at 12, 1,300 yards each in this type
Mm-hmm.
of offense.
Yeah, for sure. And I think when you look at Kentucky's offense, they did a great job of what they marriage the run and the play action together. Like the passing game and the running game were basically one. So it was just a great job of marrying that together and really doing a good job of setting up play action, knowing when to use it. But it didn't stop them as far as usage rate. Like they use play action quite a bit, which is great. And that's what you want. Like you don't have to use the running game to set that up. They did a good job of using that to, guess what, open up the run game later on, like using it in different ways to really set up what they want. And also a good tape to watch is Washington's offense. Like Washington Huskies offense, they are, I would say, very similar to what Liam Cohen would like to do as far as an offensive scheme. They did a lot of pre-snap motion. They did a lot of different sets, motion at the snap, very exclusive and a lot of 11 personnel, obviously with their receivers that they had, and then the quarterback play. So they did a good job of really showing an offense that I think the Buccaneers are going to try to resemble. And that's probably why they took a guy like Jalen McMillan, because they see him as a really good fit for this team. And so that's exciting. And then bringing in a Bucky Irving, like we said, who can do so many different things, whether that's, in the slot or rushing in motion or running to the outside, inside, has a lot of different games. Screen game can also potentially be our returner. So there's just a lot of factors there. But yeah, I'm excited about this offense. It should be, I think, a nice change of pace from what we're used to and really focus on utilizing the best players that we have. And that's Mike Evans, Godwin, Rashad White. Those guys are going to be the focal points. And then everyone around them will be very good supporting cast. And that's how they're going to be utilized. So yeah, lot there, a lot to dissect, but yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, my last point on Cohen, you talking about his success with Levis really just took me to Google real quick. And I just looked at basically how Kentucky's done the past couple of years. And his last year there with Levis, they went 10-3, won a bowl game, and then Levis goes out for one more year. They take the step back.
Yeah.
They go to 7-6. So that tells me Cohen at least had, and we're talking the SEC here. It's not like we're talking about Texas Tech or Big 12 football here. Like this is the best of the best. Talking about the Alabamas, the Georgias, like they play against these teams. Heck, Florida when they were good. Sorry, bless.
Oh no, that's fine.
But like again, what that tells me is okay. So he came back after they went 7-6 after Levis leaves, which yes, he was drafted in the second round. Everyone really saw him. There was the talks about him being in the top 10, top 15. That's a talent in the quarterback. And usually when that type of quarterback leaves a program like Kentucky, they take a huge step back.
Yeah.
they still maintained their record with Cohen going back there.
Mhm.
So with lesser talent, without the real deal quarterback, so that tells me that the Cohen, had some real success. We know he had success with the Rams, but that's with him being the sole coordinator.
Yeah.
And I think seeing that success with Levis is an easier way for me to, be a little bit more calm as a fan who maybe doesn't I don't watch too much college football here.
Mhm.
But being able to know, hey, a team like Kentucky competing in the SEC tells me that Cohen's doing something right, especially
Mhm.
against those Georgia and Alabama defenses.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think the biggest takeaway with him is he's a play caller. And I think that's what is going to be the difference. Like he knows how to call plays, he knows how to set things up. He knows how to really start the game off right with, understanding how to be aggressive and trying to score early and often, especially in the first half. I think that was the thing that I noticed a lot throughout his games. I the Florida game last year against Kentucky, I watched that one pretty closely, and he just did a great job of staying aggressive after getting up early. Ray Davis had the game going and he just kept feeding him. Like he kept going to him. He was taking over. He did a good job of setting up things for his quarterback, play action, getting things downfield. But then they just really took over in the run game and just pounded away with Ray Davis basically stealing that one. So I just like how he knows how go with his instincts and understand the situation, understanding what is going on currently, within the game, and then he adjusts, based off of that. Like if he sees something going right, he knows how to stick with that, but also make slight adjustments to keep the defense, from figuring that out as well. So um, he just knows how to call plays. And I think that's the thing with the Rams, like in the 22 season, when he was there with the Rams as the OC, he wasn't really calling plays in the first half of the season. And then once Baker came in, he started calling plays and you could see their offense starting to gel a little bit better. So that was pretty awesome. Yes, we're we're still talking, Jay. Um, we started the show late. Started the show late because of Spectrum. We'll just leave it at that. Stupid Wi-Fi. But with you here now, Jay, I want you to do me a favor. Hit that like button. Please help support the channel. We got about 93 people in here, so we appreciate all the support. Hit the like button. Let us know, leave a comment, let us know what you guys think of the Buccaneers schedule for this season. We kind of went through it in the first half of the show, and then we went on like a 20-minute special of Liam Cohen. So it was a lot of fun.
We never get off track. Never.
Yeah, never off track here at Real Bucks Talk, for sure. But yeah, I mean, just really excited about the season. I'm happy that the games are official now. Now we can start, planning some road trips, planning some, just special things for the season. So that will be a lot of fun. And yeah, I can't wait. I think it's going to be a exciting season as always, and see where this team can go moving forward.
Oh yeah. Did Mark give you his opinions of the schedule?
He just said he pretty much kept it short. He said that stretch, well, from week 4 to week 10, like we discussed, is the
Yeah.
tough part. But other than that, he didn't say much. He kind of kept it short. So yeah, we'll get Mark back on here in the next couple of weeks for sure, and get his thoughts. But we got some great videos coming up. We got film studies. We got Tyke Smith coming out tomorrow, and then Jalen McMillan on Friday, and then we'll probably have Bucky Irving sometime, hopefully next week, and then we'll finish up the rest of the draft class. Probably by next week we should have them all up there, and then who knows what we got planned for the rest of the offseason. We're probably going to jump into like film studies of Jordan Whitehead, get a refresher on his game, get a refresher or get an update on just the people that we brought in, like, Bryce Hall, Ben Bredesen, Sua Opeta, take a look at these guys and see what they can do. So that should be a lot of fun.
If Todd Bowles puts Tyke Smith as a money backer on third downs and takes KJ Brett off the field, I'll never say fire Todd Bowles ever again.
Yeah, there you go.
This kid, he's when the 2019 was what we got Devin White, right?
Yeah, 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
So 2019, my favorite pick of that one was ironically Kentucky's own Mike Edwards.
Mhm.
And Tyke, I mean, they're two completely different players. But the more I've watched Tyke Smith, so I'm very curious to watch your
Mhm.
breakdowns when that video releases soon.
Mhm.
He gets me really excited. I mean,
Yeah.
the comps to Jordan Whitehead are pretty obvious,
Mhm.
like just from a play physical standpoint. But
Yeah.
he could also, again, be our starting slot. Like, I
Yep.
think being able to have these types of tackling bodies, and then we talked about the corners a little bit, playing a lot more zone, which obviously, if you go, all you have to do is watch the Houston Texans games to know that Carlton Davis can't play zone.
Yeah.
I think being able to, again, we know the big thing with Todd Bowles is communication, but we already saw an undrafted rookie come in his spot last year and be
Mhm.
very productive. We saw a rookie edge come in and be productive.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens with some of these draft picks, but I don't think it's quite ready to call this draft a home run yet for Light because
Mhm.
it's not. No offense to these like 3 or 4 players that are really in the first 4 rounds, but because they're not Antoine Winfield or Tristan Wirfs.
Right. Right.
Um, but I think we're looking at a double or triple here from Light, and
Mhm.
I think that's very much, perfect timing. We now have a little bit of money. Heck, if Tristan Wirfs gets an extension, we might have a little bit of money that's going to, because we know Light's not going to spend it this year, but he can roll it over to next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you can really, again, Baker's contract starts to be a little team friendly next year there as well.
Mhm.
Because
Yep.
a lot of the guaranteed money will be off the books this year. You'll have your two best free agents locked down with Winfield and Wirfs. Levante David will be his 1-year contracts, but if you get those players to hit,
Mhm.
Yaya Diaby, the Alabama edge, I think the offensive players, Bucky Irvin and Jalen McMillan, will be fine. I think Graham Barton, whether it's center or guard, he's going to be great.
Yeah.
I think putting Ali Marpet title on him might be too soon, but
Yeah. You
that's
gotta
who he
see.
honestly reminds me of.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be honest, just from a personality standpoint, just from like, you can't teach the size of Graham Barton.
No. No.
No, like you see him next to Wirfs, and honestly, Graham
Yeah.
Barton might be a little bit more impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
So
put
that's
together.
saying a lot. That's
Yeah.
what I mean. So I think there's the pieces there from the trenches and to the skill players to have a real impact. And we kind of know what Baker really is at this point. If Baker settles between 3,800 and 4,200 yards with, twice as many TDs as interceptions, and
Mhm.
our run game gets better, we're cooking
Yeah.
with gas, fellas.
Yeah, no, they're set up in a great way moving forward. But yeah, when you look at the rookie class, I think you have a lot of quality, solid players right now, and I think that's what you're getting. You're getting a lot of guys that have very high floors at the minimum, and potential to even grow further, and maybe be from solid to very good at the very least. I think Barton has potential to be an all pro. Um, I'm not sure about the other guys. I'm not sure if they will get there, but at the minimum, they will be able to contribute in a way where, okay, yeah, we'll take consistent play and a guy that can come in and do what you're asking him, his job or and that's what I see. Like you mentioned, Tyke Smith, that guy is just cerebral, so smart, especially in zone coverage. I love him as a zone defender. I think his biggest thing that he's got to work on is he does get handsy in man coverage, and you'll see that once you guys watch the video tomorrow. That's where he's got to work on as far as just playing a little bit better in space when he's on an island, and using his technique a little bit better. But as far as zone and coming downhill and making tackles, there's no one better in this class. Like he was that good. Like he was really
He
good.
blitzes like Winfield.
Yeah.
I mean, his coverage skills are fine.
And also he
But
catches the football. Like the guy can catch the ball. So that's
what?
yeah.
Wait, DBs are allowed to do that?
Yeah, he made some
Oh,
impressive
news to
catches.
me, man.
So but yeah, so we're already at an hour. I was only expecting to go 30 minutes, but we ended up going an hour. It's all fun. We appreciate everybody in here that joined us. Hope you guys enjoyed just seeing the schedule. Obviously, now we get to really analyze it as we move forward, get closer to the start, and it's going to be here before we know it. But Washington week 1, 4:25 start. We got that, and then at Detroit, Denver Broncos. You got the Eagles, back-to-back home games there. Then on the road for the Falcons and Saints. That's going to be just a fun time to be a Bucs fan, right there. And then Baltimore Ravens, Atlanta Falcons at home, and then the Chiefs and the Niners before the Week 11 bye, which is awesome. Very grateful for that because last year Week 5 bye it was kind of hard hard to watch
And we
that.
saw it hit the team down the stretch too.
It
Like
did,
that,
yeah.
but that's for every team that has a week 5 bye. They all players and coaches all say they hate the week 5, like week 4, week 5 bye.
Right. And then the Giants to start the second half of the season, Panthers both on the road, then the Raiders, and then the Chargers and the Cowboys. So 4 of the 5 games after the bye on the road. That's kind of daunting there a little bit.
But they're winnable.
They are winnable, and the Buccaneers have shown they play better on the road as of late, especially the last couple of years. But hopefully we can flip that because we need to be a dominant home team, in my opinion.
And then you got those last 2 at home. You got those last 2 at home, which are great.
Yeah, the last 2 division games at home, Panthers and Saints, that's going to be very important. This could just decide the division right here, going into these last 2 weeks. So that should be something to watch. And also the preseason.
I didn't know. I thought the Minnesota thing obviously happened. The Bucs media team slipped up, but I did not know Cincinnati. Hopefully we get some Cincinnati practices. Joint practices
potentially.
With Cincinnati, that'd be cool.
I'm not sure if they're going to do a joint practice with them. I know they have the Jaguars in Miami scheduled to do the joint practices, but that's your preseason schedule. Cincinnati. Oh, look at that, August 10th. That's 2 days after my birthday, so it'll be a nice weekend here at the Plus household. Then we have Jaguars and the Dolphins. So the Dolphins, I'll probably be selling my tickets for that one because again, preseason. I should go. I probably should go.
Well, plus, last thing before we hop off, what do you think of Roger Goodell throwing out the 16-2 instead of 14-3 for the real games versus preseason?
So you mean like I see what you mean. So like 8, you mean 18-2? Like
18-2. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I 18.
Yeah. So yeah, 18 regular season games. Yeah, I mean, I like the preseason, to be honest. I think it's necessary. I think it's good to see what you have as far as like your undrafted free agents, and it just helps you build a team for the future and also for the now. So I like, having the 3 games. I think that's good. It also lets your veterans, get the rest that they need. And also just see what you have as far as the bottom of your roster. It also gives you time to make moves if it's necessary. So, I mean, I understand why they'll go to 18 eventually because of money. And you see it now with the streaming services, everything's pay-per-view now.
Netflix. How about their W this week?
Yeah, that's big money right there. But again, me personally, I don't really. I mean, I just use the NFL app. If I need to watch a game, I can use the NFL app to watch it. But mainly it's just Buccaneers for me. But yeah, I mean, they're going to find a way to maximize the dollars. That's what they're looking at. And you look at the player contracts; they're going up. We're gonna have Tristan Wirfs making $30 million a year as an offensive tackle. So, everything is going up in, not just football, but the world in general. Like prices are going up everywhere. So we're just gonna.
Are you gonna give us the inflation talk, plus?
It's all going up.
Back in my day, when milk was 99 cents a carton,
yes,
we had to walk to school.
Hey, that's when people were in shape now. But that's a whole new episode. We'll save that for another time. Yeah, catch that next
my
week.
thoughts, just add an extra bye. I think 16-3 is fine. Just add an extra bye in there. You have an extra full week NFL to really, same amount of games, but you have the extra week for money standpoint. And you can also be a little bit more flexible with scheduling there, because you can have a team play in London and not necessarily have to have their bye that following week. Or you could have that bye and maybe have a Thursday then a Monday night game after that. Like, you can be a lot more flexible if you have that second bye. So that's just my opinion. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the next probably 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's most likely it's going to happen. Hopefully the players, like you said, get that extra bye. They can make it work, not injuries increase. But yeah, we'll see.
From a team standpoint, we already know the difference between a week 5 bye and a week 11 bye is literally your season.
Yeah. No, definitely. And also the importance of backup quarterback. That's going to go up as well. You look at the Falcons with Michael Penix Jr. at 8th overall, but
it's going to be like when we drafted Cadillac Williams, and then they had the other running back that went 2nd overall. But now it's going to be quarterbacks. Now you're going to see teams drafting both Alabama quarterbacks in the first round.
Yeah. What a time when running backs were in the top 5. I can't believe that.
2 from the same school.
Yeah. And only the Buccaneers, they draft a running back and a linebacker in the top 5. Like, just the Bucs. That's how we roll.
Are you talking about Barron?
Well, I mean, no, I was talking about Devin White and Cadillac.
Oh, Devin White. I was thinking, like, who? Obviously clearly
Mark Barron
Devin
as well.
White's no longer on the roster.
Yeah,
he was 7. I still can't forgive Greg Schiano for that, but I'm holding up this podcast.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. It's all good. Well, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this. Be sure to hit that like button. Comment down below your thoughts of the Buccaneers schedule. Hit that subscribe button if you're new. We got 98 of you in here, so appreciate all the support. Everyone in the chat, you guys were awesome. Appreciate all the comments, especially the ones that went off the rails a little bit, but that's awesome. You guys are always great, so we appreciate all the support. But with that said, check out our film studies later this week. We're going to have a bunch of those coming out, so hope you guys enjoyed those. And go Bucs, and we'll see you on the next one. Oh, I forgot to make the Cobra Kai announcement.
Wait, when does Cobra Kai come out?
Oh my god. It's not letting me end the stream. This is great. Yeah.
You be Jackie Chan and I'll be Chris Tucker from Rush Hour.
We're still live because I